I've been teaching high school English for 6 years now, and I've learned that some colleagues measure success differently than I do. For them, it's test scores, attendance rates, college acceptances. For me, it's the kid who finally looks up when I call their name, the one who turns in an assignment 3 weeks late but turns it in, the girl who stops cutting class because she knows someone will notice if she's gone. Last Thursday, during lunch duty in the faculty lounge, my colleague Jennifer Carmichael made it clear she thought I was wasting my time. She teaches AP Literature, has a wall full of awards, and never misses an opportunity to remind everyone how rigorous her standards are. I was reviewing an essay from Marcus, a junior who'd been in and out of foster care his whole life, when she looked over my shoulder and laughed. Not a polite chuckle, a real, dismissive laugh. "Still spending your lunch period on lost causes, Madison?" she said loud enough for the other 3 teachers in the room to hear. "Some kids just aren't college material. You can't save everyone." I didn't respond. I've learned that engaging with Jennifer only feeds her need for an audience. But her words stuck with me the rest of the day, through 5th period grammar review and 6th period creative writing, through the drive home where I barely heard Emma talking about her spelling test. That night, after I got the kids to bed, Alex found me staring at my laptop in the kitchen, scrolling through old student emails. "You're thinking about what she said," he said, setting a cup of tea beside me. I nodded. Maybe she's right. Maybe I do waste too much time on kids who won't. "Don't finish that sentence," he interrupted gently. "You know that's not true." But the doubt had already settled in. Until yesterday morning, when someone walked through my classroom door and proved that every single minute I'd ever spent had mattered more than Jennifer Carmichael could possibly understand. It was a Tuesday morning, 2nd period. My sophomore class was working through a close reading exercise on The Outsiders, when there was a knock on my door. I assumed it was a student with a hall pass, or maybe the attendance clerk, so I didn't look up right away. "Mrs. Carter?" The voice made me freeze. It was deeper than I remembered, but I knew it immediately. I turned from the whiteboard, and there he stood in the doorway, wearing a button-down shirt and dress pants, holding a leather portfolio under one arm. It took me a full 3 seconds to process what I was seeing. Devin? Devin Mitchell. I hadn't seen him in almost 5 years, not since he'd barely graduated and left town without a word to anyone. Back then, he'd been the kid everyone had written off, the one who showed up late with bruises he wouldn't explain, the one who slept through 1st period because he'd been working a night shift at a gas station to help his grandmother pay rent. The one Jennifer had specifically mentioned once during a faculty meeting as an example of why we needed to focus our energy on students with realistic potential. He smiled, and I saw something I'd rarely seen back then: confidence. "Can I talk to you for a few minutes? I know you're teaching. I can wait outside." No, come in." I turned to my class. "Everyone, keep working on the questions on page 43. I'll be right back." I stepped into the hallway with him and closed the door most of the way. "Devin, what are you doing here? Are you okay?" "I'm great, actually." He shifted the portfolio to his other arm. "I'm sorry to just show up like this. I should have called ahead, but I was in the area for work and I wanted to thank you in person." "Thank me?" "For not giving up on me." He looked down for a moment, then back up. "Mrs. Carter, I wouldn't have graduated without you. I know I barely made it, and I know I wasn't exactly student of the year, but you kept showing up. You stayed after school with me twice a week that whole spring semester when I was failing everything. You brought me dinner sometimes, because you knew I hadn't eaten. You called my grandmother when I stopped coming to class, and you made sure the school didn't just drop me. I remembered all of it. The nights I got home late and Alex had already fed the kids. The essays I graded at midnight, because I'd spent my planning period with Devin. The phone calls to social workers and guidance counselors trying to get him connected to resources. You did the work, Devin. I just made sure you had the chance to do it." "Yeah, but most teachers didn't even give me that chance." He opened the portfolio and pulled out a business card. "I work in social services now. I help kids in situations like I was in. I got my bachelor's degree last year, and I'm starting a master's program this fall. And I wanted you to know that none of that would have happened if you hadn't cared when nobody else did." I took the card. It had his name printed on it with a title, Youth Outreach Coordinator. My throat tightened. "I'm really proud of you. I also wanted to ask if you'd be willing to speak at a conference I'm helping organize in a few months. It's for educators and social workers, about how to support at-risk students. Your approach made a real difference, and I think other teachers need to hear about it." Before I could answer, I heard footsteps behind me. I I turned and saw Jennifer walking down the hall toward us, her coffee mug in hand. She slowed when she saw me standing there with someone she didn't recognize, then kept walking past with a tight smile. She didn't say anything, but I knew she'd clocked the whole interaction. I told Devin I'd think about the conference and get back to him, then watched him walk down the hallway and out through the front doors. When I stepped back into my classroom, my students were mostly on task, though a few were whispering and glancing at the door. I redirected them back to the assignment and tried to focus on the lesson, but my mind kept circling back to what had just happened. At lunch, I was heating up leftovers in the faculty lounge microwave when Jennifer came in with her usual salad and bottled water. She sat at the table near the window, the spot she claimed every day, and opened her laptop without acknowledging anyone else in the room. Samuel Lima, the math teacher, was grading quizzes in the corner. Patricia Noguera, our curriculum coordinator, was on her phone dealing with something that sounded like a scheduling conflict. I took my container out of the microwave and sat down at the opposite end of the table from Jennifer. I wasn't planning to say anything, but she looked up at me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So, who was your visitor this morning?" I kept my tone neutral. "Former student. He stopped by to say hello. Must have been important for you to step out of class." She took a sip of water. "I'm sure your sophomores love the free time." Samuel glanced up from his papers but didn't say anything. Patricia was still on her phone, half listening. "He just wanted to catch up," I said. "He's doing really well now." "That's nice." Jennifer's voice was pleasant, but there was an edge underneath. "I just hope he wasn't one of those students you spent half your planning periods on. You know, the ones who take up all your time and energy and then disappear the second they graduate." I set down my fork. "He didn't disappear. He went to college. He has a career helping kids who need support. Well, good for him." She closed her laptop. "But Madison, you have to admit, for every one success story like that, there are 10 others who don't make it. And meanwhile, the students who actually want to learn and have a real shot at something get less of your attention because you're too busy playing social worker." Samuel stopped grading. Patricia lowered her phone. The room had gone quiet. "I'm not playing anything," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'm teaching all of my students, not just the ones who already have everything figured out." Jennifer leaned back in her chair. "I'm just saying, there's a reason some of us have higher test scores and better college placement rates. We focus our energy where it actually makes a difference. And I'm saying that making a difference isn't always about test scores." She laughed, the same dismissive sound from last week. "Of course you'd say that. But let's be honest, Madison. When your students are struggling to pass state exams and mine are getting into top-tier universities, who's really doing their job?" I felt my face getting hot. I wanted to tell her exactly what I thought of her definition of success, but I also knew this wasn't the time or place. Not with Samuel and Patricia sitting right there, not with my next class starting in 20 minutes. "I think we just have different approaches," I said quietly. "Clearly." She opened her laptop again, signaling the conversation was over. I finished my lunch in silence and left the lounge 5 minutes later. As I walked back to my classroom, I could feel the frustration sitting heavy in my chest. Not just because of what Jennifer had said, but because part of me still wondered if she had a point. Was I spreading myself too thin? Was I neglecting the students who were already doing well in favor of the ones who needed more help? That afternoon, I taught my junior English class with those questions circling in the back of my mind. I tried to push them away, tried to focus on the lesson, but they kept coming back. And then, during 7th period, something happened that made me realize I wasn't the only one who'd been thinking about Devin's visit. 7th period was my smallest class, only 14 students, mostly juniors who were retaking English because they'd failed it the year before. It wasn't an easy group. Half of them had attendance problems. A few were dealing with situations at home that made focusing on school nearly impossible, and most of them had been told at some point that they just weren't good at English. I was halfway through a vocabulary exercise when Alyssa Grant raised her hand. Alyssa was 17, quiet, and spent most of class doodling in the margins of her notebook. She rarely participated, and when she did, it was usually to ask if she could use the restroom. "Mrs. Carter, can I ask you something?" "Of course." She hesitated, glancing around at the other students. "That guy who came to see you this morning, was he really your student?" I hadn't expected the question, but I nodded. "Yes, he was, a few years ago." "And he went to college?" "He did." Another student, Marcus Chen, looked up from his phone. "Did he graduate from here? Like, from this school?" He did. Barely, if I'm being honest. He had a lot going on and it wasn't easy for him. Marcus leaned back in his chair. But he still made it. He did. The room was quieter than usual. A few students were actually paying attention now, which was rare for 7th period. Alyssa was still looking at me, her pencil hovering over her notebook. "Do you think people like us can actually do that?" she asked. "Go to college, I mean. Get real jobs." The question hit me harder than it should have. I put down the marker I'd been holding and turned to face the class fully. "Yes, I absolutely think you can. But we're not like the kids in the AP classes," Marcus said. "We're the ones everybody thinks are gonna drop out or whatever. I don't think that." "Yeah, but most teachers do." He wasn't being confrontational, just stating what he believed to be a fact. They don't say it, but you can tell. They don't expect much from us. I pulled a chair over and sat down, something I usually only did when we were having a real conversation, not just going through a lesson plan. I'm not going to lie to you. Some people will underestimate you. Some people will decide you're not worth their time based on your grades or your attendance or whatever else they think defines you. But that doesn't mean they're right. Alyssa was writing something down now, actually taking notes on what I was saying. A girl named Jasmine Brooks, who almost never spoke in class, raised her hand. "Did you help him? The guy who came back?" "I did what I could. I stayed after school with him when he needed extra help. I checked in with him when he was struggling. I made sure he knew somebody cared whether he showed up or not." "Why?" Jasmine's voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear her. "Why would you do that if everybody else already gave up on him?" I thought about how to answer that. I thought about Jennifer's words in the lounge, about test scores and college placement rates and focusing energy where it makes a difference. And then I thought about Devin standing in my doorway this morning with a business card that had his name and title printed on it, telling me I'd changed his life by simply refusing to quit on him. "Because giving up on someone isn't teaching," I said. "And because I've seen what happens when just one person believes in you. It matters. It changes things." The bell rang 10 minutes later. And for the first time all semester, not a single student rushed out the door. They packed up slowly, a few of them still talking about Devin, about college, about what might actually be possible if they kept trying. Alyssa stopped at my desk on her way out. "Mrs. Carter, do you think I could stay after school sometime? I'm really behind in here and I don't want to fail again." "Absolutely. How about Thursday?" She nodded and left. Marcus was the last one out, and he paused in the doorway. "Thanks for not treating us like we're stupid." "You're not stupid, Marcus. You're just figuring things out." He gave a small nod and walked out. I sat at my desk for a few minutes after they were gone, staring at the empty classroom. My phone buzzed with a text from Alex asking what I wanted for dinner, but I didn't answer right away. I was thinking about Devin, about Alyssa, about every student I'd ever worked with who'd been written off before they even had a real chance. And I was thinking about Jennifer, and about what she'd say if she knew that my 7th period class, the one full of lost causes, had just asked me for help, because they actually believed they could succeed. By Thursday, word had gotten around about Devin's visit. I don't know who spread it, maybe one of my sophomores who'd seen him in the doorway, but by the time I walked into the faculty lounge that afternoon, 3 different teachers had already asked me about it. Samuel wanted to know if Devin was the same kid who used to sleep through first period. Patricia asked if he was really working in social services now. Even the vice principal, Mr. Brennan, stopped me in the hallway to say he remembered Devin and was glad to hear he was doing well. Jennifer didn't say anything, but I could feel her watching me from across the lounge while I made copies at the machine. When I finally sat down to grade papers, she closed her laptop and looked directly at me. "So your former student is quite the talk of the building." "I guess so." "It's a nice story," she said, her tone carefully neutral. "One student out of how many you've taught over the years? What's that? Maybe 1% success rate for your invest in everyone approach?" Samuel looked up from his coffee. "Come on, Jennifer." "What? I'm just pointing out the reality. Madison spends enormous amounts of time and energy on students who are statistically unlikely to succeed. And yes, every once in a while one of them surprises us. But that doesn't validate the entire approach. I kept my eyes on the essay I was grading. It validates it for Devin. And what about the other 99 students who took up your time and didn't make it? What about the students who actually wanted to learn but got less attention because you were too busy with kids who weren't even trying? They were trying, I said quietly. They just had more obstacles. Or maybe they had fewer priorities. Jennifer stood up and refilled her coffee. Look, I'm not saying you're a bad teacher, Madison. I'm saying you're inefficient. You're letting your emotions drive your decisions instead of looking at the data. And the data is pretty clear. Students from stable homes with involved parents and intrinsic motivation succeed. Students without those things usually don't, no matter how many hours you spend with them after school. Patricia had put down her phone now. She looked uncomfortable, like she wanted to say something but wasn't sure if she should. You're talking about kids like they're statistics, I said. I'm talking about them like a professional educator who understands resource allocation. Jennifer sat back down. We have limited time, limited energy, and limited budget. It makes sense to focus those resources where they'll have the greatest impact. The greatest measurable impact, I corrected. Test scores, college admissions, things you can put on a report. Things that actually matter for their futures. Devon's future mattered. And I'm happy for Devon, she said, her voice hardening slightly. But you can't build an entire teaching philosophy around one anecdotal success. That's not how education works. Before I could respond, the lounge door opened and Director Duarte walked in with someone I didn't recognize, a woman in her 30s wearing business casual and carrying a tablet. Director Duarte looked around the room and her eyes landed on me. Madison, do you have a minute? I stood up, grateful for the interruption. Of course. I followed them out into the hallway. Director Duarte gestured to the woman beside her. This is Angela Reeves. She's a reporter with the district newsletter, and she's doing a feature on effective teaching practices. Devon Mitchell reached out to her office this week and specifically mentioned the impact you had on his education. She'd like to interview you, if you're willing. I blinked. Devon contacted the district? Angela smiled. He did. He said you were the reason he graduated, and that more teachers should know about your approach to working with struggling students. I thought it would make a great story, especially with all the focus on dropout prevention right now. I glanced back toward the lounge, where I could see Jennifer through the window, still sitting at the table. She was watching us. I'd be happy to talk with you, I said. We scheduled the interview for the following week, and when I walked back into the lounge to grab my papers, Jennifer didn't look up from her laptop, but the set of her jaw told me she'd seen the whole thing. That night, after I'd put the kids to bed and Alex had fallen asleep watching something on his tablet, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, reading through old emails from former students. There were more than I remembered. Kids who'd written to tell me they'd graduated, or gotten a job, or just wanted to say thank you for not giving up on them when everyone else had. Not all of them had gone to college. Not all of them had become social workers or gotten their names in district newsletters. But they'd survived. They'd kept going. And for most of them, that was the victory. I thought about Jennifer's question. 1% success rate. Maybe she was right about the numbers. Maybe most of the students I poured time and energy into wouldn't end up with careers and degrees and business cards. But I kept thinking about what Devon had said in the hallway. You kept showing up. That was the part that mattered. Not the outcome I could measure, but the message I sent by refusing to quit. You're worth my time. You're worth the effort. You matter. I closed my laptop and went to bed, but I didn't sleep well. I kept thinking about the interview, about what I'd say, about whether Jennifer was right that I was letting my emotions override professional judgment. And I kept thinking about Alyssa, who was coming in after school the next day, because she believed, maybe for the first time, that she could actually pass this class. Thursday after school, Alyssa showed up at my classroom door at 3:15, exactly when we'd agreed. She had her backpack and a notebook that looked like it had been through a war, the cover held together with duct tape. She sat down at a desk in the front row and pulled out the novel we'd been reading in class. I'm really behind, she said again, like she needed to apologize. I missed a lot of school last month because my mom was sick and I had to watch my little brother. That's okay. We'll catch you up. I pulled a chair over and sat next to her. Let's start with where you are now and figure out what you need. We worked for an hour and a half. She was further behind than I'd realized, but she wasn't incapable. She just needed someone to slow down and explain things in a way that made sense to her. By the time we finished, she'd completed 2 assignments she'd been missing and had a plan for the other 3. Can I come back next week? She asked as she packed up her stuff. Absolutely. Same time? She nodded and left, and I stayed behind to organize my desk and answer a few emails. I was about to leave when there was a knock on my doorframe. I looked up and saw Angela Reeves, the reporter from earlier in the week. Sorry to just show up, she said. Director Duarte said you'd probably still be here. Is now a bad time for that interview, or should we reschedule? I glanced at the clock. It was almost 5, and I needed to get home to help Alex with dinner, but I also didn't want to put this off. Now is fine. Come in. She sat down across from me and pulled out her tablet. This won't take long. I mostly just want to hear about your approach and what made Devin reach out specifically about you. I told her the truth. I explained that I'd worked with Devin during his senior year when he was failing most of his classes, that I'd stayed after school with him twice a week, that I'd made sure he had food and support and someone who noticed when he didn't show up. I told her it wasn't about lowering standards or making excuses. It was about recognizing that some students need more time and more help to meet those standards. And you do this with a lot of students? She asked. With the ones who need it. Even if it means less time for your higher performing students? It was almost the exact question Jennifer had asked, just phrased more diplomatically. I don't see it that way. I see it as making sure all of my students get what they need. Some of them need enrichment and challenge. Some of them need extra support and patience. Both matter. She typed something on her tablet. Devin mentioned that other teachers had written him off. Do you think that's common? I chose my words carefully. I think some educators prioritize differently, and I understand why. We're all overworked and under-resourced, and it's easy to focus on the students who are already succeeding because the results are more immediate. But I don't think we can afford to write anyone off, especially not kids who are already dealing with circumstances most of us can't imagine. She asked a few more questions, thanked me for my time, and left. I packed up my things and headed out to the parking lot, where I found Samuel leaning against his car, scrolling through his phone. Hey, he called out when he saw me. You got a second? I walked over. What's up? I just wanted to say I think what you're doing is right. He put his phone in his pocket. I've been teaching here for 8 years, and I've seen a lot of teachers burn out because they care too much. But I've also seen teachers stop caring because it's easier. You're one of the ones who still cares, and I think that matters more than Jennifer wants to admit. Thanks, Samuel. That means a lot. For what it's worth, I think she's jealous. He opened his car door. She's good at what she does, but she's not good at connecting with kids, and she knows it. So when someone like you or Devin proves that connection matters, it threatens her whole philosophy. I thought about that on the drive home. Maybe he was right. Maybe Jennifer's defensiveness wasn't really about me at all. The following Monday, the district newsletter came out. Angela's article was on the front page, with a photo of me at my desk, and a headline that read, "Teacher's dedication transforms student's life." It detailed Devin's story, quoted him extensively about how I'd refused to give up on him, and included a paragraph about my philosophy on working with struggling students. By lunch, half the staff had read it. Patricia congratulated me in the hallway. Mr. Brennan sent me an email saying the district office had called to commend the school. Samuel gave me a thumbs up from across the cafeteria. Jennifer didn't say a word. She sat at her usual spot in the lounge, eating her salad and working on her laptop like nothing had happened. But I noticed she left early, before I'd even finished my lunch, and she didn't come back for the rest of the day. That afternoon, my 7th period class was different. Marcus came in and told me he'd seen the article online. Alyssa said her mom had read it and told her she was lucky to have me as a teacher. Even Jasmine, who rarely spoke, said quietly that she was glad someone finally wrote about teachers who actually cared. We spent the period working on their research essays, and for the first time all year, every single student turned in a draft by the end of class. They weren't all great drafts, and some of them still needed a lot of work, but they were there. They'd tried. After school, I checked my email and found a message from Devin. The subject line said, "Thank you again." I opened it. "Mrs. Carter, I saw the article this morning. I'm sorry if it caused any problems at your school. I just wanted people to know what you did for me, because I think more teachers need to hear that it's worth it. I know not every student I work with is going to succeed, but I show up anyway, because that's what you taught me. You showed up, even when I didn't deserve it. Even when it would have been easier to quit. I hope you know how much that mattered. I read it twice, then closed my laptop and sat there for a minute, staring at the empty classroom. I thought about Jennifer's question again. 1% success rate. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd only reach a handful of students out of all the ones I taught over my career. But if that handful included kids like Devin, kids like Alyssa, kids like Marcus and Jasmine who just needed someone to believe they were worth the effort, then it was enough. It had to be. 2 weeks after the article came out, Jennifer transferred to another school in the district. I heard through Patricia that she'd requested the move herself, said she wanted to work somewhere with a stronger academic focus. I didn't ask for details, and nobody offered them. I won't pretend her leaving solved anything. There are still teachers who think I'm wasting my time. There are still students who slip through the cracks no matter how hard I try to catch them. And there are still nights when I come home exhausted, wondering if any of it actually matters. But then Alyssa passes her midterm. Marcus turns in his college application essay and asks me to proofread it. Jasmine stays after class to tell me she's thinking about becoming a teacher because of me, and I remember why I do this. Last month, Devin came back to speak at a school assembly about perseverance and second chances. He stood in front of 400 students and told them that one person believing in you can change everything. Afterward, 3 kids I'd never met before came to my classroom and asked if I had time to help them with their essays. I said yes. Alex still worries about how much I take on. Emma asked me last week why I'm always grading papers after dinner. And some days, I wonder if Jennifer was right, if I'm spreading myself too thin trying to reach everyone. But then I think about the kids who just need someone to show up, the ones who've been told they don't matter, that they're not worth the effort, that they should just stop trying. And I keep showing up anyway, because that's what teaching is. Not test scores or placement rates or awards on the wall. It's refusing to quit on someone when everyone else already has. And sometimes, years later, they walk back through your door and prove it was worth it all along.